want to move your life forward in the most positive way using astrology? And let's talk about the astrological patterns for January 2017. The new year begins with Mars-Neptune conjunct in Pisces, and it's as if 2017 wants to greet us with a high dose of spirituality and sensitivity. And as a matter of fact, on January 2nd, the moon will move into Pisces also, and then on the 3rd, Venus enters Pisces. So we have this very powerful dose of sensitivity and creativity and spirituality and intuition. And I am hoping for January we can all become saturated in the highest levels of Pisces, which is selflessness, giving with charity, and volunteering to help people, and that unconditional loving vibration. Please remember that the sign Pisces is really connected with the Christed frequency. If ever there was a sign that was connected to high elevation of unconditional, selfless love and forgiveness, that's Pisces. And that's going to be a pervasive element for all of January because Venus will stay in Pisces for the rest of the month. It enters on the 3rd, and Mercury ends its retrograde period on January 8th. It will have backed up into the sign Sagittarius, so it's going to go stationary direct in Sagittarius, but at the very last few degrees, and then it will enter Capricorn again on the 13th. So this ending of the retrograde period allows us a moment to get clarity. And if you watched the new moon video I did for December 29th, it was a new moon in Capricorn, you'll understand just how phenomenally significant this Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is, because we are learning a new spiritual paradigm in loving ourselves unconditionally. So all of this is going to have a big peak at the full moon in January, which is on the 12th, and that's a full moon in Cancer. Remembering that Mercury enters Capricorn the next day on the 13th. And at this full moon in Cancer, hopefully there is this huge crescendo of energy around absolute self-love and compassion. This involves unconditionally loving ourselves, and that's where it always begins. And it must be present in our mind at that full moon in January on the 12th in the sign Cancer, which is very emotional. And all this is going to be happening with Venus and Neptune and Mars in Pisces. So probably we're going to be feeling very, very intuitive. It's quite possible we may have a desire to be very creative. But you know, energy is not going to be highly combative in January, thank goodness. It's going to be more flowing and gentle, and maybe a bit more inward, really reflecting on love. So that's the beauty of January, and it peaks out at that full moon on the 12th. Once we integrate this incredible message that the Mercury retrograde in Capricorn has been trying to offer us, then later in the month we're going to have a new moon in Aquarius. But I will talk about that more in the new moon video I'll be doing, and that new moon occurs on the 27th. So to summarize the astrological patterns for January, please remember pervasive feeling of love, support, unconditional compassion, and that needs to be flowing within us. And please remember, the dynamic here is to break free of how we measure ourselves only on the physical plane, and instead to value ourselves unconditionally. That's going to be very strong in the beginning of the month. Remember, Mercury goes direct on the 8th, so we'll have a new level of clarity at that time probably. And then the full moon on the 12th in Cancer, which is the peak point of strong emotion and self-love. And just after the full moon, Mercury enters Capricorn again, which says really integrate the learning that you've had. And then we have that new moon in Aquarius on the 27th, and the dynamic changes. And get ready, because February we have 2 eclipses, and we have a much different paradigm coming in at that time. So enjoy this first month of the new year and make sure you are starting new habits of self-love and integrating them and bringing them into your structure. Thank you. I'm Kathy Rose.